like the power that this man held. And yet all that we keep getting is this whitewashed version of him. Hey y'all, it's your favorite black ass cousin, Monica Makita, and you already know what it is. This is the official Conscious Kingdom podcast, the Freedom Podcast, where we are raising our frequency to get to our freedom. If you were anything like me, you were off from work today, you slept in a little bit today. If Miss Rona won't outside, child, we'd probably be going to a cookout or something today. But it is a national holiday. It is MLK Day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, or as Black people say, Martin Luther the King. But I definitely wanted to still come on and really talk about the man that is MLK and what this day really means. I feel like, of course, growing up, we all witnessed his greatness. Every Black History Month program, every church fan had his face on it. Every car garage calendar had MLK. Your grandmama and them probably had a picture of MLK hanging up in the house. Like, he is a symbolic staple in the Black community, and not just the Black community, but honestly for this country. He's become this very beloved person for his character and his resiliency. But that ain't really what I want to talk about today, y'all. I actually really want to dive into some real shit. So come on, cousin, let's talk. Now, this is in no way to disrespect in any way our ancestor and all that he has done. I'm mainly taking shots at this country and how they will whitewash and rewrite our history to make it right for them. So let's talk. We all know that MLK Day, and a lot of people know that the government, you're not granted a national holiday unless the government offers you that privilege. There are so many revolutionaries who deserve a national holiday, but not too many of them receive them. And even for the people who do have a national holiday, it ain't too many of them that's Black. So that should already be an indication, so you know that this image that they've painted of MLK is truly has been filtered through the white lens. And while he may be beloved by this country now during these times, during his life, Dr. King was very unpopular and demoralized, even right before he died. He pressed on anyway, and that's, of course, why we all love him for the true, like, just his true power and magnitude. But that resiliency and strength is why we honor him now. But during that time, he wasn't as respected or revered by half the people in this country that now will gladly use a stamp with his picture on it. During his fight for civil rights, MLK was arrested over 30 times. Now let's really think about that. The amount of vitriol that is thrown at the protesters, even now, who are doing what we all know is still the same fight that MLK was fighting even back then. They are villainized. We are called thugs. We are called hood. I mean, anything but a martyr or a national hero, as they call MLK. Whole time he was on the same energy that we on now. He was on that energy back then. He was arrested over 30 times. That's hella mugshots. But they don't talk about that part of his fight. They don't. And there is a reason for that. we also never really dive into his intelligence. Dr. King, well, I'm sorry, Martin Luther King at that point, he went to college at the tender age of only 15. So he's literally in college at 15 years old. What was you doing at 15 years old, cousin? Exactly. I can't say because my mom will be listening. But MLK was 15. He literally skipped grades 9 to 12 to enroll at Morehouse. And then he was ordained before graduating college with a degree in sociology. After earning that divinity degree, after earning a divinity degree from the Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania, he also attended graduate school at Boston University, where he received his PhD. I'm sorry, it might just be me. Y'all know I'm from Charles City, which is a very small town in Virginia. So our curriculum might be a little off, but being honest, I never learned anything about his actual education or anything about his fight or anything. All I remember is hearing that I have a dream speech. It was like, that's all they ever really taught us. And we would get pictures to color his face, or we would get a writing prompt in English class to say, what is your dream? But I'm like, why would they withhold that information that he was, not only was he an overly educated Black man, he also was about that action. He got arrested 30 times with a whole PhD, arrested, fighting for us. And it's just, to me, I'm like, why wouldn't that information shouldn't that be in his little blurb right before y'all want me to write why I have a dream? I should know those things. Because if we know our true history, then we can know that the way that we're reacting isn't an overreaction. Our protest and our anger and our tenacity isn't unknown or unheard of. What we're doing isn't anything new. And instead of us knowing that and learning that and maybe being able to take some comfort in that and knowing, hey, we're not alone in this, and hey, we're not crazy, like racism and white supremacy is still very much potent, it would be good to know that. Because at times, as a Black person in America, you literally feel like you're crazy sometimes. Like, does anybody else see this racism here? Like this blatant, like craziness. So it's like knowing your true history and what your ancestors did before you, it helps keep you motivated. Because at the end of the day, I wish I would get on here and say, I hope that things are going to change and white supremacy is going to da-da-da-da-da. No, we're going to still be fighting for a very long time. But it would be great to know that we haven't and we've never fought alone. I know that because of how I was raised and just me being in tune with the ancestors, but everyone doesn't. Because what we're taught in what is supposed to be Black History Month, what we're taught for what is MLK Day is so super whitewashed. Despite all the things that he did, like literally again, from PhD to literally being arrested 30 times to putting in that action every single time he mobilized us as a people. If you listen back to the first season of this podcast, the main thing I harp on is the success of the Montgomery bus boycott. They boycotted the bus system for 364 days. We can't even boycott Gucci for 24 hours in this day and age. Like the power that this man held. And yet all that we keep getting is this whitewashed version of him. Despite all these things that he did, history has crafted MLK through the white gaze and has molded him into this demure, more palatable Black man that they didn't fear. And that was positive and beloved. And they almost make MLK seem like he's like a Rasta, Raja love, one love type of thing. Yet his arrest records and the very speeches, like him literally speaking at a podium, doesn't give that energy at all. MLK was about that action. I think that his message just got misconstrued. Even with his I Have a Dream speech, we all know it. We all can quote it. I have a dream that one day little black kids, little black girls, or whatever it is, I don't remember it now, I'm old. But even with, let me not do that, respect to the ancestor. What he said is, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. And that little white girls and little black girls can play together, type of thing. And that speech is so powerful, but it's also a bit problematic when you copy and paste only the parts that speak to a narrative. That portion about judged by the color of their skin and not the content of their character, and that little black girls and little black boys that can play with little white girls and little white boys and it not be an issue. It's literally become at this point the token for interracial relationships and white acceptance. They will pull out that MLK quote. They will pull that out their ass. They will pull out, because I don't see color. And I've said on multiple occasions, if someone is telling you that they don't see your color as a Black person, then they are literally denying something that is the essence of you. See, no, don't, because the problem with that is, if you don't see my color, then you don't see the issues that I face because of my color. So see my color, respect my color. Know that I am a Black woman. Know I face different things because I'm a Black woman. Know the oppression and the obstacles and hurdles that I have because I am Black, and then I am a woman. That's been like, I don't see people. I don't see gender. I just see people. It's not a thing. So see, if you really are an ally and you really respect me, you respect my color. So whenever I hear people kind of using MLK as kind of like this pacifier to be like, no, I support MLK and I have Black friends and I have a dream. I agree with MLK's dream. We all should be able to get along. With all of the powerful statements that he made, why is that particular portion memorialized in our history books and curriculums? Why is that the part that they wanted us to hear so badly? Every American of any ethnicity has had these words imprinted on their conscience to represent the totality of Dr. King. But why those words? Why the words where he's only talking about Black and white relations? Those words were highlighted because they align with the myth that Americans have substituted for true history. These words have put Black people in a place of accepting the conditions and hope that one day white America will include us in their story. And that's just not it. The reality of that August day, when he said those words, as reflected in a historical record, tells a much different story about the man and the march. The official name for that march, by the way, the March on Washington, which is what we've been known for it to be called, it was literally the March for Jobs and Justice. Again, more things that have been whitewashed under the white gaze. Why would MLK birthday celebrations look and sound like he was so focused on white relations, when that's literally just putting the focus on one part of that speech and completely ignoring the end of it? I'll tell you what the end said, and it's the part that most people forget. 50 years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. So we have come here today to dramatize a shameful condition. Because again, this wasn't the March on Washington. It was the March for Jobs and Justice. Because again, MLK was about that action. I don't know what made them paint him like he was this teddy bear, because he was not. And let us remember what he said to Harry Belafonte shortly before his assassination. MLK said, and I quote, "I have come upon something that disturbs me deeply. I've come to believe that we're integrating into a burning house. I'm afraid America may be losing what moral vision she had. Until we assure the underclass has justice and opportunity, we will continue to perpetuate the anger and violence that tears at the soul of this nation." What would it really look like if we understood the multitude of logic that history serves, including providing context for the present that we're experiencing now to this day? Meaning, what would it really look like if we were truly given our heroes and our ancestors and our revolutionaries in their true light? What if Fred Hampton wasn't painted as a criminal and we really got to see who he was before he was murdered? What if we really got to see who Malcolm X was before he was murdered? And in honor of the great man that we celebrate here today, what if we really got to really see what MLK was really about, as opposed to growing up our entire childhoods listening to literally 2 or 3 lines out of an entire speech that doesn't even speak to our issues? There's a reason that they wanted to highlight MLK speaking on interracial and the white and Black relationship. But please don't ever let that taint who the man is. Arrested 30 times, led countless marches and boycotts for our people. He was resilient, he was relentless, and he damn sure won't soft, because you don't get arrested 30 times and not be about that action. So with that being said, however it is you commemorate MLK Day, do it in honor of the true ancestor that we had fighting for our rights, not the one that they painted for us in our history books and school curriculums. Happy MLK Day, y'all. I think I'm gonna go to me a good old Black-owned restaurant and go get me something good. Make sure y'all tune into another episode of the official Conscious Kingdom podcast. This is Freedom, where we are raising our frequency to get our freedom, y'all, because it's all about liberation. That's what MLK fought for, our liberation. And we're going to keep fighting, keep on fighting in honor of the ancestors that came before us. As always, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and make sure that you, if you aren't already, follow us at Conscious Kingdom, at Freedom Podcast, and of course, shopconsciouskingdom.com. See y'all next week. Peace.